He describes a harsh world where monsters hunt humans as giant beasts destroy a village and leave its people in despair. Facing the silver-haired woman, he says he carries humanity's last hope, even as destruction burns behind them. The woman urges him to use that power to save everyone, placing all her faith in what she calls his tactical skill. As the moment turns deeply awkward, he insists this bizarre method is exactly what gives him the insight to outthink the monsters. Shaken but resolute, he vows that with enough tactical insight, he will find a way to destroy the monsters. Even as the exchange grows more uncomfortable by the second, he convinces himself this humiliating ordeal will somehow grant him even greater insight. Before he can continue, the monsters smash into the building, and he panics that he still has not gained enough insight. He suddenly surges into action, his presence flaring as he declares that he has finally reached maximum insight. The scene abruptly cuts to a quiet view of a school building, yanking everything away from the chaos. In the school courtyard, two students excitedly show something off on a bench, while another boy watches in silence and hears someone urge him to take a look. In the courtyard, two students eagerly show a social media post about a girl everyone has been talking about lately, while one of them blurts out that she looks very striking. The girl draws attention from every direction, and the students around her marvel that she goes to the same school as them. From above, the boys on the bench notice her approaching, and one of them nervously points out that she is heading straight toward them. As she stops in front of them with two friends, one boy awkwardly explains that the attention happened by accident and insists they have the wrong idea. She reacts with open disgust, making it painfully obvious that she finds the whole situation revolting. The two boys crumple under the pressure, silently shrinking as her stare and presence overwhelm them. As she walks away with her friends, she complains that those creepy boys are always staring at her in a disturbing way. Hearing that, one boy forces out a bitter laugh and admits that maybe they really do come off like creeps. Another student steps in beside them and suggests they should get back at her. With a smug grin, he addresses one of the boys by name and calls him Noah. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. Two ravens suddenly sweep overhead and someone reacts in shock that the birds were actually hit by a rock. A boy explains that the girl is an active model and influencer and that she hates ravens because she has a raven phobia, leaving another student confused. The girl panics as the ravens flap close to her and she cries out while recoiling in fear. The boys celebrate the result with smug satisfaction, praising Noah and acting impressed. As they walk away down the street, one of them thanks Noah and says the whole thing felt incredibly satisfying. Noah laughs and casually waves back, telling them he will see them tomorrow. After he leaves, one boy suddenly remembers a rumor and wonders if it might actually be true. Noah grows serious as the conversation shifts to a massive massacre from years ago, and he asks if they remember it. The discussion turns to a notorious random shooting after the war, where several people were reportedly killed. The others look unsettled and ask what any of that has to do with this. The others reveal that Noah survived that shooting, but his little sister was killed right in front of him, leaving everyone stunned. They explain that ever since that day, Noah has kept doing the same thing again and again, and his expression turns distant. Someone says Noah is not chasing revenge because the culprit is already dead, which only deepens the mystery. It becomes clear that Noah has spent years obsessing over whether he could have saved his little sister that day. As a child, he was left with that trauma, and they explain that he kept trying to devise ways to stop the culprit every single day. One of the boys blurts out in disbelief that the culprit was not already dead after all. The explanation continues as they reveal the culprit had been a former mercenary who fought overseas during the war, while Noah kept focusing on that enemy. They say Noah reconstructed the incident in his mind and developed tactics that could defeat the culprit, all to finally reach an answer. In simple terms, they conclude that Noah eventually perfected something called tactical sight. The listeners grow uneasy, and one of them mutters that the whole story sounds suspicious. They say that if Noah could really do that, he would have become unbeatable in sports and wildly popular, yet he keeps talking every day about wanting a girlfriend, which makes the whole thing feel inconsistent. The boys argue that there is no way he could have aimed for the ravens with that much precision, and they insist that what happened earlier must have been nothing but a coincidence. Walking alone, Noah reflects that it is all just a rumor. He continues down the path in silence, his face tight and distant as he notices the quiet park ahead. Nearby, a little girl cheerfully says goodbye to Kiori and promises to see her again while Noah passes by the pavilion. The child suddenly lights up, spots a cat, and excitedly runs toward it while Noah pauses and watches in silence. The girl happily calls out to the cat with playful meows as she reaches it, while Noah remains close behind and keeps watching. From the pedestrian overpass above, someone appears and starts heading down the stairs, drawing closer to the scene. Another child excitedly calls for her big brother to look, while Noah glances upward as if he has sensed something. On the overpass, two students continue discussing the rumor, with one asking if it is really true and the other answering that it is. The little girl breathes sharply as the cat suddenly leaps from her arms and bolts away. From the overpass stairs, the child chases after the cat toward the roadside while both of them keep running. The students on the bridge spot the danger below, scream in panic, and urgently tell him to look. Noah turns. His expression sharpens at once, and his tactical sight seems to lock onto the crisis below. As a truck bears down on the road, someone shouts a warning while the girl keeps running after the cat. Realizing what is about to happen, Noah jumps from the overpass without a second of hesitation as onlookers react in shock. While dropping fast, he realizes there is no time left and desperately urges the child to run. He hurls himself downward toward the road, aiming straight for the gap between the truck and the girl. The scene shifts to 5 years earlier as a child calls out for her big brother. In the flashback, the boy notices Kana sitting nearby and turns as someone excitedly calls for him to look. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The tension hangs heavy as the moment drags on. The boy lunges forward with fierce resolve as he reacts in an instant. He decides that, if he is going to die, he wants to save the girl and hopes Kana might think better of him for it. Calling out Kana's name, he throws himself into danger and grabs the child just before the truck reaches her. The flashback abruptly gives way to a quiet shoreline where he stands alone facing the sea. As he sits on the sand, he thinks bitterly that if he dies, there will be no way for him to see her again. A mysterious woman appears behind him and addresses him as Noah. Startled by her sudden presence, he asks who she is. With a calm smile, the woman tells him that lately she has been called a god. She declares that there is a world she wants him to save. She says that to make him a hero who can save that world, she will grant him the power of wisdom and enhance his tactical sight, while he reacts with confusion to the strange offer. The woman cheerfully says she can grant him the power of wisdom through a strange method, treating it like something amusing. As her hand nears him and the moment grows awkward, he firmly refuses and says he will not accept something like that. Holding him in place, she continues by saying that this is what will happen when he saves the world. She asks whether he wants to challenge life once more, adding that she can also give him the power to bring back his precious person. She reveals that if he saves the world, Kana might be brought back to life, leaving him stunned. The woman right away declares they have a deal and sends him off before he can properly respond. In the next instant, he regains awareness near a rustic house and quietly tries to process where he is. He takes a defensive stance and looks around the unfamiliar village in alarm. Seeing the thatched roofs, he admits he has never seen a place like this before. As he walks through the area, he wonders if this is truly the world he is supposed to save and thinks it just looks like an ordinary countryside settlement. He decides to look for someone who can explain where he is, then heads toward a nearby house. Looking over the village roofs, he says he needs answers about this place. He calls out to see if anyone is there, then is shaken when he realizes the entire area is deserted. Spotting a large house atop a rocky mountain, he wonders why it is there and thinks he might learn something if he goes there. A sudden rumble and a series of heavy thumps make him freeze and turn toward the sound. As the noise gets closer every second, he stiffens and wonders what is coming. A villager suddenly runs out, shouts at him to move, and demands to know what he is doing there. The man urgently warns him to run or he will die, leaving him stunned and confused. fear on his face, the villager blurts out that a monster is coming, and he goes pale as the truth hits. The man grips his spear and screams as an enormous hand rises behind him. The giant creature's hand suddenly grabs the villager from behind, stopping him before he can escape. The villager struggles helplessly as the creature crushes him in its grip, while the onlooker stands frozen in horror. The monster kills the man in front of the house, turning the scene instantly grim. As the creature starts eating its victim beside the building, he stares in shock, unable to process the nightmare before him. His face tightens with terror as the reality of the attack fully hits him. Seeing what is left behind, he realizes with dread that this world is far more dangerous than he imagined. Watching the creature after killing the man, he understands in disbelief that monsters in this world feed on humans. As he connects this nightmare to the goddess's condition for their deal, panic spreads across his face. He realizes in disbelief that the task given to him is tied to this monster-filled world. Facing the towering creature, he concludes in horror that if this world is meant for him, then he is expected to become its hero. A terrified villager spots a giant monster beside the buildings and screams that a monster is here, while the narration underlines the absurdity of a second-year high school student reincarnating into a so-called paradise. As the monster's unsettling face closes in, he panics and realizes that if he does not escape this place right away, he will die. He runs in desperation while the creature lunges after him with an outstretched hand, closing the distance in an instant. The monster's blow hits him, and he curls up defensively as he cries out in pain. The impact sends him tumbling across the ground while the monster still looms behind him. Lying on the dirt and shaken, he breathes sharply that it hurts badly and realizes in shock that this is no dream. As the monster advances with the ground shaking beneath it, he forces himself to accept that this terrifying scene is real. He notices frightened people hiding nearby, and their presence makes him realize others are still trapped in this danger. Seeing two girls cowering together, he realizes that protecting them from the monster may be the condition he must fulfill if he wants the goddess to give Kana back. As the giant monster bears down on him, he steadies himself and understands that this threat is now his to face. He stares ahead in guilt and remembers that he once blamed himself for failing to protect his sister. 5 years earlier, his father explains that his new job will keep him away with the others for a long time. At a vending machine, the little girl hesitates and says she has changed her mind. She happily decides to choose strawberry instead and insists that her brother should have banana. He says he will take chocolate, and when she suggests splitting one, he refuses and earns an angry protest from her for being mean. She keeps pushing for banana because it looks good, and after her repeated urging, he reluctantly gives in. Delighted, she proposes asking for 3 pieces so they can share the banana one between them, and he reacts in surprise. As they walk away, he warns her not to eat while walking. In the crowded city at night, the siblings move through the street when a large, hooded man passes nearby, casting an ominous presence. He notices the man and wonders why someone is wearing a heavy coat even though it is summer. The tension lingers as the moment stretches tighter. 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 The boy finds Kana collapsed on the ground and calls out to her in shock. Blood runs down his face as he sinks into despair and asks himself why he could not protect Kana. His mind flashes back to the chaos, the desperate cries of why, and the moment Kana was struck down while others screamed in horror. In the middle of that trauma, a memory surfaces of him insisting he had done it, while calling for Noah as the scene shifts back to an ordinary home. Shaking with fixation, he tells Noah that he has finally found tactics to prevent the same tragedy and save Cana this time. Noah coldly tells him to forget Cana from this day on and live his own life. As he stands there stunned, Noah adds that no amount of regret or answers will change anything. He is forced to hear the brutal truth that the past will not change and Cana will not come back to life. His eyes go blank as he realizes even a miracle would not rewrite the past, and the image of Cana's death still hangs over him. Lying in that painful memory, he wonders whether forgetting Cana would have allowed him to be happy. He wonders if joining a club back then would have changed the person he became. As his fist tightens, he asks himself what he would have become instead. Facing the towering monster, he drops to one knee and refuses to accept that things are over. Even as the creature closes in, he realizes the situation is different now. Staring down the monster, he declares that if he saves this world, he will finally be able to move forward. He raises his hand and swears it with complete conviction. In a surge of resolve, he vows to bring Cana back to life through this chance and activates tactical sight. As the monster lunges, he instantly reads that a follow-up strike will come after the first attack while measuring the gap between its speed and his own body. He turns his head sharply and searches for the one answer he can pull from the situation. Realizing the only opening, he chooses to move forward by just half a step as the monster's attack crashes down beside him. He sees the monster preparing another attack and panics, desperately trying to figure out how to evade the next move. As the monster looms over him, he rapidly considers every possible escape route, from right and left to behind or upward. Realizing he will not find a perfect answer in time, he decides he at least has to reduce the damage. He crashes into the monster with a desperate strike, but the impact only leaves him cursing as the exchange turns against him. While being thrown through the air, he realizes tactical sight slows his thought processing in battle and concludes that his brain needs to work many times faster. He slams across the room and, even through the pain, admits he has no immediate way to make himself think faster while a nearby girl notices the disturbance. He lands awkwardly on top of two girls, leaving him stunned and confused. The girls freeze in shock and embarrassment as they react to the sudden collision. Even with his life in danger, his focus slips for a second and the situation becomes uncomfortably distracting. A sudden jolt breaks his trance and he snaps back in alarm as he realizes something is wrong with his reaction. He jolts as he realizes his racing thoughts are starting to ruin his judgment. With his mind close to breaking down, he decides he has to regain focus and turn the situation around. Then a sharp glint catches his eye, and he spots something lodged near the building just as the monster closes in. He forces tactical sight back into focus and vows to build a plan that can actually stop it. He suddenly bursts into a sprint and shouts for the giant brute to come after him instead. A girl watching in confusion asks who he is, noticing at once that he is not from their town and dressed unlike anyone she has ever seen. As the monster thunders after him, someone warns that once it locks onto a target, nobody escapes. Another girl wonders if he truly has a plan, though even she cannot tell if he does. He orders them to follow him to that spot, insisting there is no way he can beat a monster with his bare hands. Running at full speed, he reveals that he does have a weapon and races straight toward it as the monster bears down on him. The monster lunges with its jaws stretched wide and hurtles straight at him with crushing force. Using tactical sight, he stares into the creature's open mouth and fixes on its weak spot from point-blank range. With a tight grin, he commands himself to move at the one perfect instant. The monster crashes forward, then jolts in alarm when he slips into a position it never expected. He realizes the monster's twisted upper jaw leaves just enough room for him to force his arm past its teeth. Clinging to its mouth, he grabs the object wedged inside and realizes the hidden weapon is the spear of the man the monster devoured. He shouts that it is the spear of the man the creature ate, turning the monster's own victim into its downfall. He tears the weapon free and drives it upward through the monster's mouth, landing a decisive blow from within. As he kicks away, he roars for the monster to die while it staggers and crashes down. The falling spear punches deep through its neck, and he realizes the creature's spine has been shattered. The spell changes her condition in an unexpected way. He realizes he would have died without weapons or tactics if not for Flair, the strange force that suddenly made him smarter. A memory flashes of someone cheerfully claiming she would make proper use of knowledge gained through troubling methods. Stunned, he wonders if that was really what saved him. Then heavy footsteps approach, and he freezes, unable to believe they are coming straight toward him. His heartbeat pounds as he stares ahead in silent dread. He slowly looks up and sees a giant monster towering over the village rooftops right in front of him. The horrifying truth slams into him. There was never just one monster in the city. More giant creatures emerge across the village, their pounding steps revealing an entire pack closing in. Panic surges through him as he realizes this city is under attack by a horde of monsters. He ducks inside a building, breathes sharply for air as the sound of his panic fills the silence. A sudden round of clapping makes him jolt as sweat runs down his face. A young girl steps out while applauding and tells him she saw everything, praising his tactics as incredible and admitting she never expected him to kill a monster alone. She cheerfully presses him for answers and suggests he must be hiding some kind of secret. Still stunned, he wonders why a child is here at all and how she got inside. Her voice, face, and whole presence strike him with recognition, and the familiarity rattles him. He blurts out Kana's name, and the girl reacts with open confusion while a smaller child stands nearby. The scene shifts to a large residence built high on rocky ground, where quiet halls lead to a lone woman waiting on a balcony. Wearing a crown and a long dress, she anxiously pleads for someone to hurry and come. With her hands clasped in prayer, she declares that this town's last hope rests with that person. The tension holds as the moment keeps stretching. 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 A towering monster creaks into view as the man and the horned girl face it in uneasy silence. He raises a grim question, asking who really created the monsters if the hero had already defeated the demon lord. Leaning in, he asks what truly happened to the world after the demon lord died. As they look toward the structure ahead, the girl explains that just before dying, the demon lord left behind a curse. That curse kept the world trapped in suffering, causing monsters to appear again and again and attack people even after the demon lord's death. While climbing the stairs, he points out that something about the situation still feels wrong. Looking over the town, he argues that if monsters were known to come here, building in this rural backwater instead of a well-defended city makes no sense. The horned girl brightly agrees and praises him for catching the contradiction. She explains that humanity gathered in the capital to avoid extinction, but even fortified cities had a fatal flaw. Narrowing his eyes, he realizes the problem may have been population pressure. She says humanity pushed itself too far, chasing limited land, scarce resources, and too little safety. She continues that people tried to build cities around the capital and expand outward into the surrounding regions. Those settlements became camp cities, places where people constantly fought off monsters just to survive. She reveals that this place, Pride, is one of those camp cities scattered across the world. Looking over the area, she adds that it eventually became a city despite standing on the brink of collapse, and he quietly waits for the rest. She explains that this was once a thriving desert nation, but half its people have died. The land now lies in ruins under monster control, and the sudden loss of the staff officer made everything worse because the monsters here are stronger than normal. As the weight of it sinks in, he is told that Noah is now this city's last hope. As they reach the top, she announces that they have arrived at their mountain castle. Walking through the wooden hall, he is told that the queen is waiting just ahead. As they approach the room, she says the queen may be this city's most important and valuable person, then adds with bright admiration that the queen is also the most respected woman. Noah freezes in place, stunned by the heavy sound behind him and the sudden presence before him. He turns and sees the queen standing gracefully on the balcony, her calm authority instantly taking over the scene. As she steps closer, Emma politely says it is a pleasure to meet Mr. Noah, and the sudden closeness makes him visibly tense. With a gentle smile, she introduces herself as Emma, the queen. She notices his battered clothes and asks if he is hurt, while he quickly insists that he is fine. Flustered, Noah awkwardly says she should prepare herself first, then catches himself in an embarrassed pause. The queen explains that this is the formal attire worn by advisors who serve her, and the others happily tell Noah that it suits him well. His attention suddenly shifts to a floating object, and he is told that the strange item there is a crown. The explanation continues that there were two inventions that made it possible to build camp cities in such a dangerous world. The first is revealed to be the Queen, a saint whose blessing weakens the curse and protects the city. He is told that the crown is the ultimate technological achievement of this world. They explain that the crown is a tool reserved only for advisors who serve the Queen, and that it contains all the information needed to manage and fortify the cities. Watching it activate, Noah reacts in surprise as the device powers on. As he studies it closely, he realizes the crown looks strikingly similar to a smartphone. The Queen's side explains that the screen can be divided into 6 sections at most, and that each section can be enlarged as much as needed. Surrounded by multiple displays, Noah is amazed by both the device itself and the sheer amount of information it can contain. They add that the crown is an incredible tool with many functions, including planning strategies, delivering messages, and monitoring fires inside the city and monsters outside, though using it well would require extreme technical skill and knowledge to mobilize the army. Noah realizes that what he alone can truly manage is using his tactical sight to keep up with small-scale acrobatic combat tactics. He admits that is more than enough for now, but also understands that even if small victories pile up, defeating every monster by himself is impossible. Reaching a conclusion, Noah decides that he will act as an advisor who creates plans and tactics, while others carry out the fighting for him. Noah realizes that creating a plan and carrying it out alone are completely different things, and he understands that execution will require other people filling each role. He concludes that to fully carry out his plans, he must first gather allies and establish a proper chain of command. He understands that he needs a deep grasp of each person's abilities, endurance, traits, and limits, so he can assign separate tactics to each individual. As the crown feeds him information, Noah realizes it includes everything he needs, but also that managing people, locations, timing, and all the necessary calculations will become overwhelming at an exponential rate. He falls silent for a moment, then admits to himself that even so, he should still be able to tap into that power. Someone nearby softly calls out to Mr. Noah, drawing his attention. The woman introduces herself as a foolish woman, and says she knows how reckless it was to rely on a summoning ritual to call in the strongest tactician from another world. She confesses that desperation drove her to perform a ritual she did not truly believe in. With visible regret, she admits that she failed and that nothing changed. She explains that even when this city was drawing its last breath, she still found Noah. Emma urges Noah to use his power to save them, calling him their last hope. A buried memory hits Noah, someone crying for help and a man with a gun flashing through his mind. Noah turns to Emma and abruptly admits that his power seems tied to something deeply disturbing, making the moment unbearable. Emma can only stare confused, as Noah explains his intelligence rises whenever those harsh situations happen. She is left speechless when Noah insists the crown's wisdom reacts to extreme circumstances, then asks if they still want to save the city. Emma lowers her head in bitter frustration as the meaning of his words finally lands. Then Emma snaps, condemning him for exploiting their desperation and making such a terrible suggestion while people are suffering. Shaking with disgust and self-loathing, Emma says she wants to curse the part of herself that ever chose to rely on him. As Emma stumbles and nearly falls, Noah catches her and apologizes, insisting he was telling the truth. Emma weakly says she knows Noah never meant to trample on her feelings or her wish to protect what she loves, and admits she understands that pain better than anyone. Noah awkwardly offers another approach, trying to pull the conversation back to his plan. He steels himself and says what they are about to do should count as a vow between them. Emma freezes, confused, and quietly repeats that he means a vow. Noah insists he came to this world to save it. He adds that everything else can wait until after the city is saved, and for now, he only wants her agreement until then. Noah proposes they make a vow for the sake of the same future. Emma softly repeats his words, still struggling to grasp what he means by the same future. A bystander blurts out in disbelief and demands to know why Noah suddenly sounds like he is proposing. Another girl urgently explains that Noah is only saying this because it is necessary to defeat the monster and save the city, pushing Emma to understand. As Emma stands there overwhelmed, the others bluntly argue she has no choice but to accept the uncomfortable method if Noah's power and wisdom are going to grow. Noah blurts out in panic that he needs to gain wisdom through this difficult method, and Emma jolts in flustered shock as the air turns painfully tense. The smaller girl lights up and declares the idea sounds incredibly interesting and might even be their best option yet. Noah quickly clarifies that he will only do what Emma allows, but the smaller girl right away presses him to explain what he means. As Noah leans in nervously, he admits he does not want Emma to hate him, and the smaller girl snaps at him to stop hesitating and just ask. Summoning every bit of courage, Noah hesitantly suggests they could somehow seal the vow directly, still unable to say it plainly. Emma blushes and shyly says that would be fine with her. Noah recoils in total panic at hearing her say it so directly, while the smaller girl mocks him for getting so worked up. Trying to stay on track, Noah says he will use the crown to force out as many new tactics as possible in the little time left. Emma tells him to steady himself with her support, and when he obeys with visible tension, he nearly loses control from the pressure. The tension spikes as Noah reaches toward her, and that alone leaves him visibly shaken. Standing close to Emma, Noah is overwhelmed by the situation and fixates on how unfamiliar this all is, making it almost impossible to breathe. Looking down at Emma from above, Noah grows even more flustered as the closeness makes him painfully aware of the moment. Noah realizes the difficult situation is somehow making him wiser and blurts out in shock that his reckless thoughts are actually sharpening his mind. Feeling the crown respond, Noah suddenly understands that everything is working exactly as it should. As information floods the display, Noah sees that what barely worked before has improved dramatically and realizes this awkward method has boosted his tactical thinking enough to create far better plans. Trying to push through his nerves, Noah stiffly tells Emma he is about to proceed and she quietly accepts. As they draw closer, Emma reveals that her dream is to make the city one of the biggest and safest places, second only to the royal capital. Caught off guard by her sudden honesty, Noah listens as Emma asks whether he will promise her that same future. Standing with her before the vast city below, Noah answers and makes that promise. As the vow is sealed, Noah is left dazed by the intensity of the moment and compares it to dramas he has only ever watched. As they hover inches apart, Emma's nervousness shows in the slightest movement, and Noah's thoughts spiral as the tension becomes almost unbearable. Standing close to Emma, Noah panics, feeling the situation has already crossed into something far too uncomfortable. The tense moment continues, and Noah admits he got carried away and lost his composure as the pressure overwhelms him and leaves him unable to think straight. As they remain close, Noah becomes sharply aware of Emma's strained breathing, making the moment even harder to endure calmly. In the middle of it, a flare ignites, and Noah realizes his clouded thoughts are somehow producing entirely new tactical ideas. With his mind suddenly clearing, Noah sees a path to rescue everyone by identifying the monster's routes and the residents they are targeting. A strategic display floods his vision, showing the monster's current positions, projected paths, and the best interception points to strike. Even as the flare continues, Noah realizes that if he can fully organize these plans, he will be able to wipe out the threat. Pulling back in agitation, Noah declares this still is not enough and blurts out that he needs even more wisdom, leaving Emma startled while another girl laughs nearby. Flustered but resolute, Emma right away accepts and braces herself for whatever extreme step Noah believes is needed next. A monster suddenly appears on the fence outside the house, and the village's brief calm is shattered by a threat rushing closer. Inside, the villagers argue that anyone seen heading for the mountain castle must be the new advisor, while others nervously question whether that could possibly be true. As panic spreads, one woman demands orders right away, while another insists they cannot afford to be wiped out like their fallen comrades. Before anyone can recover, a monster smashes through the roof, and the people below freeze as danger drops straight on top of them. The ceiling fully caves in, hurling the entire room into chaos as the villagers recoil and scramble in terror. Several monsters crash inside at once, turning the house into a nightmare as the survivors are suddenly surrounded. A young woman forces herself forward through the wreckage, breathes sharply and struggling as she tries to escape the collapsing room. She turns at the sound of someone calling Mio, and the shout makes her realize another person is still in immediate danger behind her. Mio watches in horror as a towering monster grabs a girl crying for help, while more creatures close in from both sides. The girl desperately begs Mio to save her, and Mio is left frozen in shock as the monster's grip and the rising panic become too much to bear. As a giant monster lunges down the village street, Mio sprints in terror, her face showing she knows the creature is about to catch her. Flair carries the shaken girl while Noah, now razor sharp, declares that he needs to create tactics that will save this city. Noah suddenly realizes his mind has reached a new peak and boldly announces that he has maxed out his wisdom. With a sharp grin, he feels as though his current self has finally surpassed the person he used to be. Surrounded by panels of data and a complete map of the city, Noah spreads his arms and is hailed as the world's greatest genius. As he tears through calculations at blinding speed, an onlooker is stunned that he can process such a vast amount of information almost instantly. Focusing on his eye, Noah declares that he can finally use the ultimate evolution of tactical sight. While fleeing the charging monster, Noah explains that his first step is to rebuild the entire city in his mind, and his second is to predict every possible movement. His mental model expands even further as he includes the movements of both the enemies and his allies in the calculation. He concludes that this will become a future simulation inside his brain, one that will guide everyone toward the best possible outcome. Noah focuses on his evolved eye and declares that this new power will be called future sight. Inside a wooden building, the group falls into heavy silence as a monster suddenly crashes in and charges straight at a fleeing villager. One survivor explains that their city, Encampment City Pride, once had 5,000 people, but now even that city is doomed. As soldiers try to hold back a swarm of monsters, the narration explains that everyone had believed the city was safe under strong protection, until that belief was shattered. The mood shifts completely once news spreads that their advisor has died, and the gathered townspeople are left shaken and adrift. A fallen soldier is shown as the narration explains that without the advisor's directions, the troops fell into chaos and were trampled. The narration adds that the remaining townspeople had never received combat training, leaving them utterly unprepared to fight. A woman gripping a spear explains that the spears were handed out to each person, no more and no less. In the tense gathering, one of them hesitantly asks whether, if they are going to die either way, they should at least take one monster with them, and the others quietly begin to move. One man suddenly refuses to go, and another angrily snaps that his friends were killed by monsters and asks how that does not make him furious. The man breaks down and admits that even if everyone calls him a coward, he still does not want to die. As the others watch in silence, he says he does not care if he looks pathetic because he still does not want to go. Through tears and panic, he insists that he is not ready to give up yet. The narration shifts to the town itself, describing the land they cultivated and the buildings they raised with their own hands. Looking over the fields, the narration adds that they had worked that soil tirelessly, and every part of it was tied to their desire to keep living. Another villager lowers his head and says that in this beloved town of theirs, he wants to believe in himself. A young woman suddenly screams for someone to help as a monster lunges in, and the cry reaches the people hiding nearby. At that desperate cry, the girls react in alarm as the danger outside becomes impossible to ignore. The Crown communication device activates over the town, and Noah formally announces that he is this town's new advisor. As the villagers rush out with their spears, they realize the message is coming from the Crown device, which orders everyone to get out of the building and look toward the mountain castle. The villagers look up at the mountain castle in shock as a figure appears to leap from its heights, and one of them blurts out in disbelief that he cannot understand what he is seeing. Noah launches himself through the air with his weapon in hand, and the people below realize in astonishment that he is somehow gliding through midair from the mountain castle straight toward the town. As the girls react, one protests that an advisor should not be standing on the battlefield, but another reminds Noah that if he is done making plans, he still has his own orders to issue from there. Perched on the railing, Noah calmly judges that what they are doing now will never be enough to change the situation. The women watch him in confusion and concern, one asking why he would do something so reckless as the tension rises around them. While surveying the village below through his tactical view, Noah reflects that he understands exactly how all of the terrified villagers feel. Looking down over the people gathering beneath him, Noah decides that what they need right now is something immediate and undeniable. A ray of light streaks across the landscape, and the narration explains that this will become the signal that the stage for a counterattack has finally been set. On the ground, a girl scrambles in terror as a monster charges at her, and the moment turns critical just as help drops from above. Noah crashes into the monster with overwhelming force, intercepting its attack and seizing control of the battlefield in an instant. The tension still refuses to break as the moment stretches painfully on. The tension still refuses to break as the moment stretches painfully on. The tension still refuses to break as the moment stretches painfully on. The tension still refuses to break as the moment stretches painfully on. The tension still refuses to break as the moment stretches painfully on. The tension still refuses to break as the moment stretches painfully on. The tension still refuses to break as the moment stretches painfully on. The tension still refuses to break as the moment stretches painfully on. The tension still refuses to break as the moment stretches painfully on. The tension still refuses to break as the moment stretches painfully on. The villagers erupt in disbelief, insisting they saw him fall from the mountain castle onto the monster, while others whisper that it must have been some kind of trick. A man blurts out that this must be the new advisor's plan and calls him Noah, while Noah closes his eyes as if already thinking ahead. Noah stands before the mountain stronghold and declares that this plan will keep them alive. Overlooking the village, the fox-eared woman quietly repeats Noah's title as the new advisor, while the other figure says nothing and simply watches. The fox-eared woman questions who he is, who brought him there, why they did it, and how he was summoned at all. The cloaked figure says it does not matter who he is, and then a sudden impact in the distance cuts the moment short. Watching the chaos below, someone reports that their allies are struggling on the other side, and warns that no one can stop the threat. On the battlefield, the fighters brace against a violent force as the warning narrows to a single terrifying target, that monster. A swordswoman suddenly notices something and cries out, alarmed that someone just used the crown. She instantly shouts for everyone to stay focused as the battle surges around her. Noah faces Emma as his thoughts spiral, and the moment turns painfully awkward as he fixates on their earlier exchange. Emma smiles gently, and Noah remembers that from the very first moment he saw her, she left a deep impression on him. As the memory lingers in his mind, Noah feels overwhelmed, and the atmosphere grows almost unbearable. Inside a shelter packed with weary civilians, a woman jolts to her feet, while a determined voice vows to protect the people most precious to them, no matter the cost. Outside, a grotesque monster clings high above the city, looming over the area with savage intent. The woman struggles to steady her breathing as someone grimly realizes that the city is already under attack. Looking over the ruined city, Emma explains that monsters strong enough to wipe out their army are invading, and that although up to 3,000 survivors remain, the situation is hopelessly dire. It is further explained that tens of citizens are trapped inside each house across the city, unable to take even a single step outside. From below the castle, someone asks Emma what she thinks of their current situation. Emma proposes that Mr. Noah should gather the scattered citizens throughout the city to his side, and then unite them against the monsters. The explanation continues that a single monster is so powerful ordinary people cannot stand against it, but if enough civilians swarm one together, they might barely stand a chance. The hooded figure admits the idea sounds impossible but does not reject it outright. As they overlook the camp city, it is concluded that pulling everyone into one force is the only strategy left. The fox-eared woman mocks the idea, declaring that the plan is doomed and that the people will die helplessly before they can even rally. She argues that the moment Noah descended from the mountain castle to lead them, the plan had already started collapsing because he did not even know the monster's exact locations. The hooded figure concedes part of her point, while she admits Noah did give the citizens hope and win their trust by coming down into the city, yet warns that if his actions mislead them, they will be wiped out. Nearby, Noah is identified as the mysterious advisor who appeared out of nowhere. The hooded figure coldly asks whether this is really all Noah can do. The woman laughs to herself and says she is actually grateful to him, leaving the hooded figure confused. She reveals in a disturbingly unhinged way that she has long awaited this disaster, because watching these foolish humans march toward death fills her with twisted satisfaction. The girl reveals that every citizen is already wearing a transmitter device behind their ear. She explains that through the crown as the advisor, Noah can make calls and send instructions or orders to everyone. As the interface opens, Noah selects the citizens' communication channel to contact them all at once. A woman inside the shelter suddenly reacts to the signal, clutching near her ear as the unexpected call startles her. Across the crowded room, more people feel the transmission at the same time, and confusion ripples through the shelter as they instinctively reach for their ears. Noah appears before the gathered citizens through the transmission and apologizes for making them wait so long. He right away follows by telling them he is about to send them his plan. Hearing that, the shelter erupts with relief and resolve as people celebrate that they finally have a chance to fight back. Noah, now acting as the new advisor, insists there is something everyone must understand first as the transmission tone pulls every eye back to him. One man grows tense and asks the grim question of how many of them will die, and how many will actually survive. Noah says he does not mind dying himself, but as long as the city remains safe, he believes it can still be taken back from the monsters. The spell changes her condition in an unexpected way. He stresses that if their connected wills endure, they can rebuild. A man fires back that he does not mind dying for that cause. A woman quietly concludes that enough of them should survive to avoid total annihilation, leaving the room in uneasy silence. Outside, Noah falls silent as the citizens watch him, clearly waiting for his answer. He bluntly admits that he knows nothing about this city at all. The man is stunned and can only repeat the words in disbelief. Noah explains that to him. This city is just a remote place he arrived in recently, and he feels no attachment to it. He adds that he never understood how someone could treasure a place so deeply, and he does not even know the labor required to cultivate its fields. The man trembles as he points out that the people here are already risking their lives, but he still struggles to accept Noah's cold response. Noah says he understands the will to protect someone precious, but he warns that no one should throw their life away in a painful death for that alone. A shaken girl reflects on the pain of being powerless, while Noah urges everyone to cry out for someone to save them. The man looks up in surprise as Noah declares that he will be the one to answer that plea, asking for something in return. Looking over the city, Noah calls on everyone to lend him their strength, insisting that the people who cherish this place need it. As the citizens gather with pounding hearts, the man repeats that those who love this city enough to stake their lives on it are the ones Noah needs. Noah answers the earlier question with certainty, declaring that everyone will survive as their hearts join together into a single force. He reflects that within that force stood one young boy, a life once filled with nothing but regret at its end. That same boy now steps forward and commands everyone to begin the operation. In that instant, the girl stares at him in awe, and the moment frames him like a hero from another world. The townspeople rush out in formation as the operation begins, and everyone moves with urgency through the wooden passageways. Watching from afar, one girl realizes Noah has made his move and says he is drawing the monster's attention, while the beast woman turns to observe the battlefield. The monsters spread across the district, and the onlookers are stunned to realize Noah is not circling just one home, but pulling them away from houses all across the area at once. As Noah sprints ahead, the beast woman notices something strange, then laughs in surprise when she realizes what he is doing. A giant monster locks onto Noah and charges after him, confirming that the creatures have taken the bait. Noah keeps running under crushing pressure. The girl cries out in alarm, and he says nothing as he stays locked on the plan. The pursuing monster smashes through the area right behind him, and Noah barely escapes as the destruction closes in. The beast woman remarks that the escape was close and begins to grasp what kind of strategy he is attempting. As citizens reposition through the streets, the observers realize Noah's plan is to risk one person in order to gather the monsters into a single location. The beast woman warns that the district is too large, and she points out that even if they try to regroup without knowing where every monster is, many people could still be killed before they make it. The beast woman is stunned and says it is impossible, then realizes Noah must be using a plan that defeats the monsters with only a minimal group while accounting for how they move. She identifies the creature as an August ogre, a so-called child of fermentation, and explains that by consuming its own kind, it grows stronger while using its massive body to prey on humans. She points out a nearby human group and says the monster should notice them after only a few more steps. With rising tension, she says it is about to begin and insists the monster needs only a few more steps. As armed townspeople brace themselves, the ogre charges into the area, and the beast woman watches the clash with tightening focus as the danger closes in. Her tension spikes as the confrontation erupts, and the moment turns chaotic and deeply unsettling as she urges it forward. The monster looks ahead from the street, then spots the group gathered under the structure as they prepare to move. She says it is about to notice them, while the others watch in alarm as the ogre bears down on the humans below. The observers are shocked when the creature suddenly stops, and they stare in confusion as the ogre slows right in front of the shelter. The girl counts under her breath, reaching 10 and then 11, as if checking the exact timing of the monster's response. The count reaches 13 and 14, then 15 and 16, as the ogre crawls closer along the rooftop edge while the group below waits in breathless tension. The girl tightens her grip on the pole and calls out 17, while the others stare up in focused disbelief. The ogre suddenly lunges forward, and the gathered townspeople right away sprint away in a perfectly coordinated retreat. As the crowd runs beneath the structure, the ogre chases after them from above, pressing the pursuit exactly where they expected. The beast woman reacts in shock, letting out a stunned cry as the timing shifts again. The boy stares ahead and wonders what just happened, realizing they stopped at the perfect moment to avoid crashing into the monsters. From above, the ogre watches as the humans start moving again, and the boy concludes they only needed a few more steps to slip out of the monster's sight. The beast woman is thrown into even deeper disbelief when the ogre hesitates once more, and she shouts that they stopped again. The girl resumes counting 8, 9, and then 10 as the lined-up townspeople halt with perfect precision, while the ogre turns back in confusion. The beast woman is overwhelmed by the realization and demands to know why, while recognizing that this pattern is somehow manipulating the August ogre's perception. The observers realize the squads are circling while staying just inside the monster's line of sight, careful not to provoke an attack. One onlooker decides Noah must have had a reason for this plan, because even though the monsters still cannot see the people clearly, they are somehow reacting to every movement. Noah then reveals that his ability lets him see into the future, leaving the listener stunned. The princess awkwardly steps closer as Noah apologizes for acting without properly explaining himself, and she freezes in surprise. The younger girl looks up in awe as the princess realizes this must be the true power of wisdom. Noah calmly explains that his special skill is tactical sight, a power tied to wisdom, and that he recreates real situations in his mind to build tactics. The princess can only stare blankly as she hears that his ability has now evolved even further. Noah explains that by combining information from the crowd with everything he has heard since arriving, he can reenact the monster's actions, reproduce their movements with extreme precision, and even predict nearly every move they will make. He says he runs simulations of every possible future those conditions create, compares them all, and uses tactical sight and future sight together to guide everyone toward the best tactic. The younger girl excitedly realizes that he can influence the future through tactics and planning, changing events to steer everyone toward the best possible outcome, while the princess is left speechless. Noah says his newly awakened ability emerged through the power of wisdom in a strange way, leaving Emma flustered while the other listener blurts out that it is incredible. Sitting outside, Noah answers that the ability he possessed from the start was tactical sight. Noah reveals that long ago his little sister was killed and says he kept replaying the incident in his mind while searching for any possible way he could have saved her from the killer. Emma is shaken that he trained that ability by himself, and he calmly confirms that he did. Noah explains that he mastered all the laws of physics from his original world. He adds that he studied the human body and emotions so deeply that he could mentally reproduce human movement, and says he spent years running simulations of that tragic day inside his mind. The younger girl starts to say that as royalty she received an education, but even with all that knowledge she still cannot imagine how he accomplished it, while Emma remains speechless. Emma concludes that recreating real situations would demand absurd amounts of knowledge from books and calculations far beyond normal human limits, and she asks how he ever managed it. Noah simply says he devoted a huge part of his life to developing these tactics, leaving Emma stunned into silence. He reflects on the grim simplicity of that answer, then abruptly says he has to go because they are running out of time. Emma quietly tells Noah that once this is over, she will make sure to explain everything. Emma says she wants to know more about Noah and asks him to tell her what has happened to him so far, including what happened with his sister, while hesitating as if something else still troubles her.